India?
Yeah, I spent a year there.
Oh,
Yeah.
you did? Oh, interesting. So what year?
91, around Christmas. So it was either 90-91 or 91-92.
So this is before he had been discovered by the Rajneeshis, and it was had a much smaller scene there. I mean, there would have only been a few people in that early, right?
No, this was after that. This was after Osho had died. There were quite a few people there.
Oh,
It was
so
getting bigger.
oh, but that had to be later than 91, I think.
No, I'm pretty, well, it might have been. I'm pretty certain it was 91. But
oh, interesting. Okay, so yeah, I was there before all of that. Although I thought it was, if I had to have guessed, I would have put it around 91. But so before he was discovered by Osho's people.
Yeah.
So yeah, so anyway, so Punjaji, as you know, was also fairly uncompromising in the way he would talk about this. I mean, he wouldn't, unlike someone like his teacher, Ramana Maharshi, he wouldn't make any concessions to practice or to gradualism or to effort. And the explicit message was either you understand what I'm talking about or it's hopeless, right? There's nothing you're going to go do on your own to make any progress, right? So just, understand what I'm saying right now, or there's no path. And if you do understand what I'm saying, there's still no path, right? There's nothing for you to do with this understanding, right? You're not going to practice the implications of this conversation right now. If you understand, you're done. And if you think you need to practice anything on the basis of what I just said, you didn't understand what I just said, right? So it's like the steepest possible path. So there are two reasons why I think he was wrong about that. And the first is that it was obvious what the consequences of that style of teaching were among many people. People would, seem to see the light in the midst of, having that conversation with him. Somebody would jump up and say, I get it. I see it. And it was pretty clear from spending some time with those people afterwards that, in the aftermath of their full enlightenment, they were not going to be the next Buddha of the age, right? I mean, these people were still neurotic and confused in various ways, and now they had been delivered a message that spiritual practice was completely pointless, and they accepted that, but then they went back to their lives and began, seeking happiness in all the usual ways, and they just no longer had a spiritual option. The path had been taken away from them, and then they're left with 12-step programs and going to Burning Man and what anything else they were doing, and so there was that problem. But there was also the problem that many of us had this more intermediate experience, which is we recognized the non-duality that was being described, but the recognition was unstable. You recognize it, but then you could overlook it again. So essentially your mindfulness became non-dual, but you weren't made perfectly mindful for the rest of your life by virtue of having had this insight.
Yeah.
There still seemed to be something to practice, in the sense that there still was this oscillation between being distracted by thought and clearly recognizing what is prior to thought. It's not nullified by the arising of thought, but there's still an apparent difference between recognizing and not recognizing. And Punjaji didn't seem to be conceding that. He's basically said, if you recognize for 1 second, you'll be stable for the rest of your life. And that just seemed to be disconfirmed by the experience of many, many people. So I put that to you as what I perceive to be the liability of this way of talking about it.
Yeah. It is very radical. I'll have to say, with the way you describe it, it sounds like what I was talking about as an experience that I had, or non-experience, of the I am prior to thought, which seems to be sort of what Punjaji was talking about, which is why he would say, don't take a thought. Or he did suggest, when I was there, he was suggesting, who am I? As I can't remember if he actually said it or if it was just in the crowd who said it. But there seemed to be some suggestion that there was a state that one could be in. And I'm really talking about something radically different.
You don't think Punjaji was also talking about emptiness and non-duality in the sense that you're referencing those
It
things?
doesn't seem so. It doesn't seem so because he was still talking to someone, suggesting that they do certain things, such as don't take a I can't remember anything he said, quite honestly, but I do remember feeling like there was something that needed to be done. I did not get the radical nature that there wasn't anywhere else. And that experience of something else has to do with an illusory experience of a solidity as a center to the appearance. And I find that his tradition and the people that came after him and the one before him were really talking about something different. Now, if they meant the same thing, I don't know. But the way they talk about it, they make concessions to individuals, and this makes no concessions.
So yeah, maybe I got him in a very Jim Newman mood, because to my ear he was saying the same thing.
Okay.
But I could see that he could be pushed in the direction of making concessions to something that seemed like a practice or...
Yeah. I'm not that well versed on him. I mean, even though I was there for a year, I sat in front of him a couple of times, asked a few questions, and there were always some sort of suggestions of something needed to happen.
It could have been what the Osho people did to him when they got there with all of their
maybe
their tantric energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.